Hey all, we're going to work today on lesson 61. This is lesson 61. We're looking at chemical mixture problems type B. If you remember our type A problems right there with that, we would have said something like we have a 15% iodine solution, all right, and a 60% iodine solution. And we want to know if we took and we remember poured some amount of this and we dumped some amount of that into another container, we would look down here, what is the percentage of iodine that we would get when we combine those? Okay, so down here we get a percent that's going to be greater than 15%, but then less than 60%. Okay, so it's going to come out in between those. Okay, so that's what we were doing there is we were taking these two things and we're combining them. And we're going to come up with something else that's kind of in between the two. All right, now as we're going to look at type B, with type B, we're going to begin with a mixture and we're going to add something or remove something. Okay, so here we're going to ask how much water must be evaporated? How much water must be evaporated from 100 gallons of brine and this is going to be 100 gallons of a 10% brine to get a solution of 40% brine. Okay, so here we're going to look at this. We can look at it as either from the water side of it or from the salt side of it. Let's look at it from the water side of it. So if I think that I'm going to have water that I'm going to put in minus water that's going to evaporate out is going to give me the amount of water that I have at the end, the final water. Okay, so water in minus water out equals water final. All right, so let's think of having my containers that I'm going to put this stuff in. All right, and I'm going to start off, I'm going to put in the 100 gallons of 10% solution. I'm going to evaporate some amount out, and I'm going to be left with 100 minus however much I evaporate. All right, now we want to look at the solutions that we had. We said that this was a 10% brine solution. If it's 10% brine, we know that it is 90% water. Okay, I've got the evaporate, and then over here, what I want to get is a 40% brine, which means that this is going to be 60% water. Okay, multiply these out. I'm going to get 90 minus E equals 60 minus 0.6 E. 30 equals 0.4 E. And E equals 75. So here it's going to be 75 gallons that I need to evaporate out. If you wind up looking at it from the salt side, it winds up just a little bit different. I could think about the salt that's going to go in minus the salt that's going to come out is going to equal the salt final. Okay, so think about the fact that I'm going to put in this 100. All right, we're going to evaporate. And then we're going to wind up in the end with the 100 minus the amount that we evaporate. Okay, we're starting off this 100, 10% of that is salt. And over here, what I want to have is something with 10% that is, 40% that is salt. Okay, one critical thing that we need to remember right here, there's not going to be any salt that evaporates. We're going to evaporate some water, but we're not going to evaporate any salt. So here I'm going to have a 0 there. All right, so when I multiply this out, I wind up with 10 equals 40 minus 0.4 E and move things around, I get a negative 30 equals negative 0.4 E. Divide those out, and E equals 75. So the same thing I come to here is the fact that I'm going to evaporate out 75 gallons. Okay? Let's do one more real quick. Say I have 900 pounds of 2% butterfat milk. That's what I want. And I want to say how much butterfat do I need to add to get 8% butterfat milk? Okay. All right. So think about the fact there's going to be the butterfat that I put in the beginning. There's going to be the butterfat that I add. And then there's going to be the butterfat that I wind up with in the end, the final amount. All right. I'm going to put in 900. I'm going to add some other amount. And I'm going to wind up in the end getting 900 plus this BFA. All right, think about the facts now that I'm going to take this 900 that I put in to begin with. It is 2% butterfat. So I'm going to multiply it by the 0.02. Plus I'm going to add some other butterfat. And then over here, what I want to get in the end is something that's going to be 8% butterfat. So I'm going to do that 8% times the 900 plus the BFA. All right, so as I work those out, I get 18 plus BFA equals 72 plus 0.08 BFA. All right, move things around again. 0.92 BFA equals 54. So the butterfat that I'm going to add is going to be 58.7 pounds. All right, and that gets you what you need to know as far as chemical mixtures B.